And the most important thing I've learned, sometimes the hard way, why contracts matter. All right. So that's like 3-part question.
3-part question. And I am so glad that I just found out that I am the first and only attorney to appear on the Hitstreak.
That's right.
Thank you for having me on those issues. We're going to do a little Law School 101 if you don't mind.
Come on, baby. Here we go.
Law School 101. Disputes are either individual or corporate. You asked that. What's the difference? People hire attorneys. Well, I think companies generally have relationships with attorneys.
Okay.
They either have it because it's been passed down or word of mouth.
Okay.
And so if you're looking for expertise, you're going to go to a thought leader.
Mm-hmm.
So gone are the days where people go to Google and say, okay, what's the best construction attorney? There was a time in my career when I started blogging in construction law. I've been doing it about 16 years now. And when I was blogging probably 3 days a week, just moved to Nashville, blogging 3 days a week on construction law. If you had Googled best construction lawyer, I was always within the top 5 because of SEO.
Yep.
Always came back, and I was writing about the issues that people were talking about. Well, I don't think people actually Google. Major corporations do not Google, I want the best construction lawyer.
That's right.
But what do they do, Nick? They go out there and they find word of mouth, and once they get your name, the first thing they do is do research on you. And what do they find? They find Matt DeVries out there, publication, speaking national convention, speaking. So I built a brand, and it was because I became a thought leader in construction law and development. So something they don't teach you in law school. So that's how companies do it. Okay. Well, individuals, unless you're sophisticated, you have high assets, real estate, set up trusts and stuff where you have family lawyers who do that kind of stuff. Most people who are individuals don't get an attorney until it's too late. And that's when the dispute arises. And so that's unfortunate. That's part of the system. But I will say there are people out there who don't get an attorney at all. But when they do, hopefully they'll use the system properly and use the professionalism of an attorney who can get you through the process. So Law School 101, what is the process? Usually if there's a dispute, there's 2 parties arguing over something, right? They're either arguing over money, they're arguing over property, somebody did something wrong to somebody. Civil is everything between people. Criminal is, you did something wrong that's violating the law. So I do civil law. Everything is construction through representing entertainment clients in the entertainment field here in Nashville. I've opened up to some entertainment law, but usually if there's a dispute, it starts with a demand letter, and we try and get things resolved front end. When I moved from DC to Virginia, or DC to Tennessee, it was so funny. Out in DC, it's like you pull out the gun and you shoot everyone, and then you figure out what happened in litigation.
Okay.
I get here, and the first case I'm on, working with Greg Cashin, attorney here in town, working for him. He's one of the partners. And I was writing a real nasty demand letter. And Greg looked at me and he says, Matt, why don't you just pick up the phone and call him? And I looked at him and I said, what do you mean? He said, well, that's how we do things down here in Tennessee. Pick up the phone and call him. And that my mind, I just hadn't understood that. So that's the mediation process. You try and get somebody to settle a dispute, whether it's informally or formally. And then unfortunately, some things you ultimately have to go to court. And, court could be going down to the courthouse, or there's something called arbitration where you actually hire your judge. And so construction disputes are sometimes a lot of arbitration. So that's kind of Law School 101. You asked about contracts. This is probably something I didn't really appreciate in law school, but contracts is one of those things that you're actually telling the parties what they're going to do with whatever transaction. The point of a contract is to allocate risk. So let's take a construction contract. So let's say if I were to ask you who has the requirement of payment, who's got that obligation? You'd say, well, the owner does.
Sure.
And if I said, who wants to get paid? You'd say, well, the contractor. Well, that's what I'm going to do with the contract. I'm going to expressly write out a document that says the performance obligation of building the building is going to fall on the contractor. What about safety? Who's in charge of that?
Yeah.
Well, it's the dude who's doing the work.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure the contract has all the safety provisions. Who wants to get paid?
Yeah.
The contractor wants to get paid. So we put the obligation of payment on the owner. So that's what a contract does. So what's a good contract? Something that's written out and people negotiate. What's a bad contract is the one that people don't even draft.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Those are the bad contracts.
That's right.
And I've been involved in many disputes where parties, they're building $1 million house and they did it on a handshake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the contract.
Some of us might say those were the good old days, but that would be everybody that said that didn't go through a legal dispute over that handshake probably.
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing that like I consider myself kind of a well-to-do guy. I think I'm kind of smart, or at least I can learn things.
Yeah.
But when you learn about the legal thing, it's like, wow, I just LA law, there's only so much you can get by watching it, by the TV shows. And there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and it all makes sense when you're playing it out. But like, that's not at all how I would have, with just no knowledge or no experience, would have experienced or would have thought how it would go. You know what I mean? Like, it's the judicial process is beautiful, in my opinion, when you actually see it get to play out. What do you think about it?
So a couple things. You mentioned TV shows. I've had my years of TV shows. I've followed everything from Suits. If you've ever watched
Suits. I love
Suits.
Yeah, it was
I've
good.
I've watched it at least 3 or 4 times. And the problem with Suits is I think that's how lawyers really should be doing it, and they don't.
Got it.
So to all the audience members, if you ever watch Suits and any other legal thriller out there, what I found is that sometimes the scenarios are real. Sometimes what happens is real, but the process is not the same. Like if you remember the depositions in Suits, they sit there and they yell at each other, and they've got video cameras, and they say, well, we're out of here. And that stuff doesn't happen. So the TV or movie legal process isn't really real. One thing I did as I became an attorney is I'm just a regular guy.
Yeah.
I keep going back to the same as you. I'm just a regular guy. And so there was a guy named Brian Garner who was a professor and a legal scholar, and he taught legal writing, and he says, get rid of the legalese. And that is the heretofores and the withers and the hows and all that stuff. You just got to write English. And so I started early on in my career was writing clear English. So I think there's a lesson learned for a lot of attorneys out there that our clients don't understand the legal process.
No.
And to be able to sit down with somebody and explain to them, hey, this is what it is. And this may seem elementary, but if I could explain to a client how the process works in the same manner that I can explain it to my kids, then I know they can understand it.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe for more, and visit nickhyder.com.